Guys, look at this. HayprO is going for an incredibly early pull. That's a 7 pull.
Yeah.
And he is predicting a Forge Fast expand from NightEnD. And NightEnd's going to scout after Pylon. Oh boy. So NightEnD gets all the information he needs. And so Andre, when you're Protoss in this position, what do you need to do immediately?
I think actually Daybreak is big enough to start making cannons and just defend against it adequately. I actually would say cut probes, don't even make any more probes from here, and just throw down at least 2 cannons, and you're pretty efficient.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I agree to an extent. I think the biggest thing is NightEnD has to really prioritize, like you said, minerals. And a lot of times, a lot of people still pump out probes unknowingly, but you can see NightEnd's content with putting 2 cannons. That way he can one-shot the Zerglings accordingly, but he still leaves a pretty big gap. Now, HayprO does have his Zerglings kind of in a line, which does make it pretty hard, but NightEnd's bringing all his probes to try to defend and make sure the Zerglings don't get around. That's exactly what he needs to do, so it looks like NightEnD pulls all his probes, though, in fact.
Yeah, this is correct.
All his probes? I felt like you should leave just a couple.
A couple, yeah. I mean, what he's trying to do is say, once this ends, I have a massive advantage. Income tab is showing 18 to 10. I mean, that in and of itself is just such a big advantage in this early game stage. Not only that, he has position. I mean, the whole thing about this, ooh, well, never mind. This shouldn't have slipped through, obviously.
No, it should not have, but NightEnd's just going to start patching up the wall there anyways. And you can see now the probes are really trying to rally together and make sure that they can't get picked off here. But regardless of what happens, there's going to be lost mineral time. Yeah. And this is exactly what HayprO needed to have a chance back in this game.
That's precisely right. I mean, there should have been a probe just defending there. Sticking in that gateway if ever his opponent tried to go for that sort of run-by. But this is actually going to do so much damage. And the reason why he actually went for the gateway instead of waiting for a Nexus is because he needs to get a Zealot out to have these probes start doing something for him. He wants them to be mining instead of constantly attacking. And what HayprO needs to do this whole time is just keep going in and out, forcing these probes to engage and disengage every single time.
Yeah, and I think... Yeah, I mean, NightEnD actually had enough minerals to make the gateway initially after those first Zerglings were parried, but he didn't actually do it because he saved up intending to go for Nexus. He thought HayprO would just kind of back off. But the silver lining is that HayprO sees everything, what NightEnd's doing. He can see the gas timings and, as a result, line up in his head. It's really important in general just to keep a note of how long it takes for Protoss to get 100 gas after the double simulators. And not only that, HayprO can just really keep NightEnD accountable. If he's not, paying attention too close, picking off any probe count at this point will be super beneficial, as it'll allow HayprO to close the gap in workers.
Oh yeah. And it helps, but now that the Zealot is out, really, I mean, he's able to do whatever he wants. His probes don't really need to attack anymore, which helps out so much. And from here, I don't think the Zerglings will actually be able to get in and see anything of value. This is normally a time where you will probe up. And since he went against a 6 pool, you will actually just chrono boost out your probes like crazy because you know your advantage is already in your economy. Go ahead and just really take advantage of that. 24 harvesters to 19. I mean, HayprO is still pretty far behind, even though Queen mechanics will kick in pretty soon. You can, if you have constant chrono boosts on your Nexus, you can actually keep up with the Zerg very easily.
We do see that HayprO still getting some good view of the base, though. He's seeing again a delayed one here from NightEnD. You can see NightEnD really doesn't want to reveal anything in the sight of Zerg. He's going to place a Stargate right next to his ramp, and HayprO, if he takes another lap, he might see it, which could change everything. You can see that NightEnD really trying to bait it away, but the Zerglings are going to see it, yes or no? Oh, no, it does.
They don't. Oh, what?
Oh, yeah, I thought they weren't. I wasn't sure about that, but huh. Yeah, that's really good there by HayprO.
Yep, and HayprO, for him, he's just going to start up his drones. I mean, that's all he can really do at this point. Drone, 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 drone. He's finally getting his 3rd queen, which is actually kind of far behind. So that will be quite difficult for HayprO. And, oh, wow, look at that. He's actually supply capped. On top of that, he is relegated to not injecting. And this non-inject actually hurts him severely. I would actually say that HayprO, because of that, lost any form of, him coming back with those Zerglings. I think NightEnD is in a fantastic position economically. And that kind of stinks because HayprO going the fast third base, that's what you really base your strategy on. You're getting a really huge economy, and then you're able to do a lot of damage after that. But now that they have equal economies and the attack is already ready for NightEnD, you know, HayprO is going to be suffering pretty harshly.
He might lose another Overlord depending on the pathing of the Void Ray, but NightEnD, just like you were saying, is going to go for a second Void Ray, actually. Now, he's done this in the past, where he keeps the Void Rays and eventually transitions to Stalkers anyways, and just kind of incorporates them into the army. Allows them just to do their DPS, especially if they go for a Roach-based army. You see that HayprO has his Evo Chamber and his Roach Warren completed, but he doesn't have Lair. So that way, he can't really capitalize on the upgrades. HayprO, of course, everything is kind of thrown into the fray just because he hasn't been able to get his economy up as strongly. See 10 workers in queue, but he's still been behind, and Zerg should be far ahead in workers at this point.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, that's such a difficult position because NightEnD is already preparing for this huge push. And of course, Zerg does explode off of their macro, and they're able to really start producing and materializing their economy into a ton of units very fast. But the fact of the matter is NightEnD already has is it 3 Void Rays? Just 2 Void Rays, but the third one almost out. And with that, he has a lot of tech initiative, which is basically saying he controls where the battles are, and he controls how the battles are as well, because the compositions are going to be very difficult. Forces HayprO to actually go very queen heavy. That delays this macro hatch, or additional drones, or additional units. That's kind of tough, and queens are pretty slow. They need to lug around all over the place. They need to inject. So it's actually not efficient to only have queens defending. It's really, really difficult at this point for HayprO to make good decisions, and it's because of the beginning that we had.
Yeah, you can see that NightEnd's third is pretty much... It's so easy to get up at this point because of how much map control NightEnd has with these Void Rays. And the big thing is HayprO, you know, when he has those queens, he's just more defensive in nature. So he's going to try to pump out some of these roaches. He's got 12 on the way with +1. Roach speed is only just started. It's going to be a while before he's able to really string his attacks together constantly with speed roaches. And HayprO, this push should have came now at this point. He'd be close to maxed. And instead, we find him at 95 supply, as Protoss is not trailing too far behind.
Let's look at a 55 Harvesters out for NightEnD. And he's actually transferring the perfect amount of probes over to the third base, so his economy is going to be roaring. It's well, it's going to be similar to the Zergs, but normally you need to mine a lot more as Zerg. HayprO still has not taken his 5th or 6th gas, which does kind of imply that he will be doing some sort of aggression, and it is revealed right now. Ventral Sacs being upgraded at this point, and that gives us obviously the tell that he will be doing some sort of drop play. Yeah. Probably just roaches at this point.
Yes, there are no islands on this map, Mr. Bitter, so you're not going to use that to drop off your drones for another
God, he's
expansion.
a BM with that.
He tries to do it every single time. But we do see hallucinations, speaking of uncommon upgrades from NightEnD. Usually hallucination more of an early game upgrade so you can get scouting in really easy, keep track of the Zerg army movement patterns. But having him as a kind of a mid to late game option is not bad either in terms of deceiving your opponent in terms of tech switching. Especially because NightEnD, he's been able to control the map so well, he denies Zerg a lot of information. Look at the Void Ray locations, making sure nothing can really pass without him seeing it.
Yeah.
So NightEnd's looking very solid right now. And you can see he's preparing a fleet beacon immediately. Ooh.
Fleet beacon? That's really interesting. Normally people don't do that because there's a lot of essential upgrades and units that you have to get before you go over to the mothership. Now, Frodo, I don't want to actually relegate it to the mothership just yet. It could be a carrier. Could be a carrier.
Yeah, this is still really early because a mothership usually wants to come in around the 16-minute mark. We're about 14.5 in, so...
Well, not only that, you want Archons and you want Colossus when you are going something like a mothership.
You need AoE in general to really harness the power of Vortex, unless you really want to section off some units and try to pick it off accordingly. But we see the Phoenix does spot the Roach Ling army, and with that... Oh, did you see the Overlords moving past? I don't think so.
Well, he might right now. No, the Overlords just stop halfway.
No.
I like this, though. The Phoenix just covering his opponent's units, making sure he knows exactly where they are at all times. And it's actually delaying HayprO's ability to drop, which is so important. Now, there is a mass drop in the bottom location. It's headed over towards the third base, but there are a ton of units for NightEnD, and I think he'll be prepared, very well prepared, I should say, for both of these.
Yeah, and he's got Stalkers in position just in case. He says, well, why the Roaches are in the north for no reason? They're not going through the mains. And you can see NightEnD senses something suspicious. He's starting cannons in his main. Mothership about 1/4 done, and he's expecting these drops to hit somewhere. And as looks like it's in the bottom right, HayprO trying to go for the main as well, but the Stalkers are prepared. Oh, but they're targeting the wrong ones as well. HayprO leaving some decoy overlords in. But with all these units dropping in, NightEnD, will he be able to hold it off in time? That way, because he's also getting dropped at the third, but the cannons are also doing something about it. NightEnD trying to intercept the drop, and HayprO's dropping straight in the middle of the cannons. So at the third, the units are not going to do anything, and the main looks like everything will be cleaned up as well, and NightEnD holding beautifully.
NightEnD, you are a monster, sir. Defending against those beautifully. He barely took any loss. Let's look at that. Units loss tab shows just about double the efficiency of his opponent. And now we can see that he is giving chase to some of those overlords. They're not going to have a happy day.
No.
And you know, a lot of Larva actually was committed to making overlords at this position. That's really tough for HayprO. He wants to be making units because obviously he just lost a crap load of units in that engagement. That's not looking good, but another continuation drop of Zerglings is going to come over here to the main. Is it able to do enough for Rodan? I don't think so.
Well, decent Link Micro should be able to completely shut down this ability of Zerg to do anything, and Stalkers do have +2. Mothership is now into the field, and with that, HayprO will have no more aggressive option because the Mothership is also fantastic defensively. Look at these Void Rays still holding down their patrols, just acting like a little toll worker, making sure that whatever passes by will be spotted by the Big Brother Protoss.
Yeah, and at this point, let's go ahead and look at HayprO. He is only massing Zerglings. Let's look at the upgrades there. He's at 1-1, 2-2, just about to finish. NightEnD is at 3-0 though, so the 3-0 obviously allows him to two-shot Zerglings. That's very efficient, especially for this timing, because HayprO doesn't have any substance to his army. Units tab is showing 6 Infestors, just not enough, especially with the Mothership out, and Void Rays as well.
And looks like NightEnd's going to push into the center now. The Mothership has enough for 1 Vortex in about 5 game seconds, which should be pretty devastating. The Fungal's revealing them, but I think the Stalkers don't mind a little green goo. As you can see that HayprO will not really be able to hold off his onslaught and push. You can see a couple of Overseer trying to finish to see if he can get sight of it, but just as quickly as they morph in, soon they will exit the map as HayprO is losing his 4th base.
There it is. G comes out from Liquid HayprO yet again, and NightEnD is going to take it 2-0 over his opponent. Well played. Yeah. Very
systematic
game.
Yeah.
Very straightforward game.
Just a couple of things. Love NightEnd's style of Stargate. Not necessarily to punish the third. Now, people can make an argument, you know, the third, I mean, NightEnD was so ahead by the time HayprO got his third that it may not have mattered. But NightEnd's also shown in the past, if you want to watch some of his games against Zenyo even, he utilized that Stargate style of triple Void really well, keeping them alive and controlling the map rather than just trying to pressure and kill queens and really set Zerg behind economically. And I really like his style and his patience, and overall able to really come out on top.
And we don't want to discredit HayprO for that drop. It looked really silly at that end game stage, but that's exactly what he needed to do. He knew he was behind. He tried to do a lot of damage in that mid-game stage, but he just wasn't able to do it because his opponent read him very easily. Now, a way that you can do that, you know your opponent knows that you're dropping. You could just send a ton of Overlords to the top, force all the units up, and then go for the third base. That's a really great strategy, or I should say tactic, that you could do in that game. But HayprO obviously didn't actually employ it. Still, it goes up into mind games. It goes up into how well you're good at scouting. And NightEnD proved to be very good at scouting all that game, so I don't even know if that would have helped. But I don't want to discredit HayprO and just be like, well, he did a terrible build. No, he did what he had to try to get back into that game. It just wasn't enough from the beginning.
So that will wrap up the series. We want to thank the sponsors for that game, Azo Monitors, the people who provide these beautiful screens to watch the games. So check them out at azo.com.